How are you making decisions as a parent every day? Are you most often feeling pressured to do what it seems like everyone else is doing? Or maybe you're often defaulting to what's easiest or most convenient. Or perhaps you are flying by the seat of your pants and making split-second decisions without a long-term focus because you're in survival mode. Basically, what I'm asking is, are you parenting on purpose? I'm Rachel Coley, pediatric occupational therapist, mama of 3, and total child development nerd. Here on my channel, I share videos each week to help you turn down the volume on stress and worry and turn up the volume on fun and confidence as a parent. I am passionate about intentional parenting. And this does not mean perfect parenting, I promise. But what it does mean is that you aren't living so much in survival mode and reactive parenting. You are parenting with a plan and a purpose proactively. So today I want to share with you 3 practices that I use to help me parent on purpose, and I think they can help you too. My first intentional parenting practice is to write down what matters to you and your family. Now, this quote from Ian Thomas, I think just really rings true and gets to the heart of this practice. He says, "Every day the world will drag you by the hand, yelling, 'This is important, and this is important, and this is important. You need to worry about this, and this, and this.' And each day, it's up to you to yank your hand back, put it on your heart, and say, 'No, this is what's important.'" I have some good news and some bad news, friends. Now, the good news is you don't have to do it all. You don't have to, wait, let me get my Instagram feed. You don't have to be super fit with trendy exercise clothes, prepare home-cooked meals of the highest nutrition, plan the cutest, most magical birthdays and holidays, have a beautifully decorated, clean, minimalist home, have a trendy wardrobes for your kids too, host family and friends all the time, volunteer, serve with several organizations to be saving the world, take dream vacations, coordinate the outfits of the family photos, keep up to date on all the popular shows and celebrity gossip, be the room mom, have beach waves in your hair and thick, gorgeous eyelashes, have a well-manicured lawn, an adorable nursery, an organized desk, a side hustle, a beautiful planner with pretty handwriting and stickers. The good news is, like I said, you don't have to do all those things. But the bad news is that you are likely going to have to put aside, at least in this season, a few of those things that you do like and value and want in exchange for or in favor of a few things that are really important to you and your family. So the way you're going to do this is you're just going to set aside some time. You're going to step away from social media, not forever, for a few minutes. You're going to get some quiet. You're going to spend some time in your head and your heart. And maybe you invite your co-parent into this conversation as well. And you just want to zoom out. You want to get the big picture, the 20-year picture. What will matter when you're an empty nester and you look back on this season? Here are some prompts to think about, or maybe write about, or talk about. We are a family that values. We believe that. We want our kids to remember. By writing down this list, you can look at it when you're faced with a hard decision. It can be a filter when you're overwhelmed and need to take some things off your plate. So for our family, we've decided that the things that we value the absolute most are simple times together, physical activity, friendship, and having goals and personal development. So here's a good example of how we use that vision and values as a family to shape our decision making. So at the end of this summer, we had to make a decision about whether or not to re-enroll my son in Taekwondo, which he enjoyed this summer. And as we're thinking about that decision, on the surface, it is physical activity for him. And you would think, well, it's social because it's in a class with other kids. But when we really thought about it, it meant that he was physically active, but that I and his 2 sisters were sitting on a bench watching him for an hour. And then you throw in 20 minutes to drive there and 30 minutes to drive home because of traffic. And it just made for a whole afternoon of us sitting while he gets an hour of activity. It also took place at a time of day where we could easily be walking around the neighborhood, going to a park, and all getting some exercise and spending that quality, simple time together. The other piece is that when we really thought about it, my son gets shy and kind of reserved in big group settings like a class. And so he wasn't forming friendships within that class. But on the other hand, if we have one kiddo into our backyard to play or go on an outing around town and meet up with one friend, he's getting friendships and he's developing those social skills. So we felt like it was a better match to support his friendship to pull him out of Taekwondo and focus on more small group and one-on-one settings. And then bonus points, some of his friends have younger siblings that are friends with my girls and have mamas that are friends with me. So we could kind of meet the needs of more friendships than just his through pulling him out of Taekwondo. Now, he might be a little disappointed when we stop doing Taekwondo, but if we zoom out big picture, 20 years from now, is he still going to be disappointed about Taekwondo? No. Instead, he may have formed some deeper friendships through that backyard one-on-one play. I might have deeper friendships. His sisters might. We will have cultivated this physical activity that's so important to our family, and we will have stayed true to the values that we decided on ahead of time. My next intentional parenting practice is to write down my thoughts on paper with a pen. And the reason why I do this is because when thoughts are rolling around in my head, kind of unexamined, they feel really true. But when I write them down on paper and kind of look at them and pull them apart, a lot of times they're not actually true. They are subjective. They are my thoughts, my impressions, my opinions about situations, and they're not always serving me. And so I like to really take a look at them and figure out, do I really want to be thinking this way about this situation? What is the actual fact, and how would I like to be thinking about that fact? Now, I use a particular model of doing this work that's taught by Brooke Castillo, but basically in a nutshell, what I'm doing is first step, brain dump, like just stream of consciousness, what thoughts are rattling around in my head, and that can go on and on and on. Then I want to pull out some, depending on how much time I have, it might be one thought, it might be a couple of thoughts that seem to be giving me the most problems lately or coming up the most for me. Then I want to examine that and think, is this really the truth? Like, what is the actual fact? What could be proven in a court of law about this situation? Pulling my opinions out of it, what is actually true? Then I want to look at what are my opinions and thoughts about that truth, and are those serving me? Is that how I want to feel about this situation or think about this situation? Is it making me act in the ways I want about that situation? And the crazy part is, you can then choose other ways to think about that same situation that can totally change how you feel and how you act. It's crazy, but it's true. Now, a key part of it is the thought that you replace it with can't be totally far-fetched, right? It has to be believable to you, but just tweaking some things a little bit can make a huge difference. So let's look at some examples from my notebook. So, nothing fancy here, guys. One thought I've been having a lot lately is that my son is struggling in school. He just started kindergarten. Now, the actual truth, so I wrote down my son is struggling in school during my brain dump. That rattles around my head a lot. But the truth, when I really think about it, is that some mornings my son resists going to school and is not able to get to his classroom without physical help. That's it. It's not the whole day. It's not his whole school experience. It's not even every morning. But in my head, I think, oh, he's struggling in school. The intentional thought that I'd like to replace it with is, our family is getting my son the help he needs to feel better about going to school in the morning. That's something I'd much rather think when I think about my son's school experience right now, instead of, oh, he's struggling in school. Another example is the thought, my 2-year-old is so physically rough. Why is she so rough? I have that thought every time that little hand smacks a sister or a brother. But the truth is, the real fact here is that my 2-year-old is impulsive. 3 of her classmates' moms see the same behavior. We were talking about it on the playground this morning. So the intentional thought I'd like to think instead of, oh, she is so rough, is many 2-year-olds are learning to be gentle. Doesn't that sound a lot nicer? Wouldn't that be so much nicer in my head to think when she slaps her sister or slaps a friend, to think, instead of thinking, oh, she's so rough, to think many 2-year-olds are working on this skill of being gentle. Doesn't that seem to change? Wouldn't that change how you acted or responded? It's crazy. The next one is the thought, why does everyone's house look clean and mine is a disaster? You ever have that thought? So the circumstance, the truth is that my house is less clean than I'd like it to be. And I actually don't know how clean other people's houses are at the moment. So the truth is not what's on my Instagram feed or in a magazine or, in someone's family photos when their kitchen's in the background. The truth is, I don't actually know what my friends' houses look like today. I just know that mine is not at the place that I want it to be. There's not some arbitrary standard of cleanliness. It's just not as clean as I want. So the intentional thought I'd rather have is, I bet I can make this place look better in the 15 minutes that my daughter's eating breakfast. Wouldn't that spur you to action a lot more than like, why is my house a disaster and everybody else's is perfect? That thought doesn't actually make me want to clean my house, but I can make my house look better in 15 minutes. That makes me want to do something. So you see, it's crazy how such a simple tweak in your thoughts can change things. So hopefully you get the idea. You dump a bunch of thoughts, you pull one out, you examine whether or not it's true, and you try to find the truth in it, find what's your opinion, and then decide if that opinion is serving you and replace it if you need to. Which brings me to my third intentional parenting practice, writing things down on Postit Notes. Sounds so simple, but it can be really powerful because basically what I'm doing is writing a note from my ideal world self to my real world self. Because often I feel like I know how I want to respond to my kids or speak to my spouse or spend my time, but then in the moment I kind of fall short of that. And so the notes are kind of a bridge between what I want to be doing and then in the moment what I'm defaulting to. So let's take a look at a few examples of how you can use these. Sometimes it's just a little reminder to offer choices to my toddler or give my preschooler extra physical touch because that's her love language. Sometimes it's a short script that I'd like to say when my 5-year-old is demanding or bossy to his sisters or when my 2-year-old hits. Sometimes it's one of those intentional thoughts I've chosen during my mental hygiene. Sometimes, honestly, it's just a pep talk from myself to myself. You can do this. You can be calm in their storms today. You are the best mother for these kiddos. Post-it notes are a way that I bring my best intentions as a parent front and center during the daily grind. Intentional parenting is truly a process. It is not a destination. And a big part of that journey is really maintaining and cultivating a strong sense of self. And I think often we can lose ourselves in motherhood. So I've created a video, it's on your screen right now. You can click on it and learn some tips for not losing yourself as a parent. I'll see you in the next video.